Pete's got a solution here for the regional user group contest to go to Insights Free in 2020. We'll see how it gets you there in 2021, Pete.
I think everybody's going free this year.
Everybody is.
I think it's Insights Free.
Yeah.
To get airline, we should have the session on how to get airline refund.
You sit on hold for 24 hours, put your phone number in for a callback, and they'll call you back while you're asleep because you couldn't wait any longer.
Got it.
Exactly.
Anyway, sorry, Pete. Go ahead. Go for it.
So, well, I mean, there's still 2 minutes. I don't know if there's any other conversations that need to happen or if we need to wait for people to come back. But so my solution is designed around quick ship there. So, and there. So should we give the people the less than 2 minutes or should we get going?
We can wait a minute, and that's fine. My clock says 59.
Yeah, mine just changed too. So, just out of curiosity, how many people have the Quick Ship Pro, even Manifest?
Aguilera uses currently Manifest, eventually making it up to Quick Ship Pro or whatever. Yeah. We've been beta tester for Quick Ship for a while now. I don't know what others are using.
We have a handful of clients using the Quick Ship. If they're on the newer versions, they're running the new Quick Ship. We have a handful of people also still using the old Manifest.
Yeah, so this is designed around some of the limitations within Epicor to pass information to be able to limit the interaction or the touches, more or less automating a lot of what was seen as needed by our team. So just to go in is some of the limitations are when you set up the customer with the manifest information, that information when you create a sales order does not auto-populate down. And I can kind of understand the reasoning why they might want the salesperson to manually navigate into several tabs to then go select the billing type that they want, because it might not just be charge it to their FedEx account or charge it to their shipper or charge it third party or whatever may be the case. And of course, they could have multiple manifest informations, but I feel like Epicor could probably make it an option within either site or company configurations so that you can have it automated a little better at the same time. So for us, we've elected to take the information matching the carrier to the bill type and auto port that in. And if it's not there, we're going to default it to shipper, and then afterwards if they want to do, and shipper is a prepay to, in our case, Tortel's account. If you left the bill type and account blank, it would be a prepay and add. So it prepay on Tortel's account and add it to the invoice, which sales has elected they do not want to do. So that's what this does. So that's from the sales side, is they really only have to set up to make sure that the customer is accurate and will go and grab if they want something other than the account associated with them. For instance, if this is an RMA and the customer's not responsible for anything, then they will go in and change it to shipper from what's ported down. And then the other situation we ran into is the manifest information on the order is only at the header level. So if you had a different ship to on the release, or if you wanted a certain release to be charged shipper versus the customer's account for whatever reason, there was no way to do that. Now, the shipper situation's different. because we didn't go and create a separate field, and that was the next step, but I think I'm going to back off that because it seems like they at least accepted to add the manifest information at the release level. But what will happen in the customer shipment entry is we will go, and if the release is a different carrier, it will go and grab from the customer shipped to. It will go grab the carrier if the carrier information exists. Otherwise, it will use the header information, and if that's different, it'll blank it out and pop a warning. So I think you do have to be somewhat familiar with the shipper information, but that's kind of what we're going with. And of course, we have limited it just to ship to. They did not want to set a generic one on the customer, where if nothing existed on the ship to, I would go and check the manifest information on the customer level and grab that. They've elected not to do that. Andres, I see you said maybe it's just XPO, LTL.
Yeah, he was asking earlier whether or not somebody had noticed tracking numbers had broke last month. I think they may have upgraded from 2300 to 2500. So
Okay.
this was a site from your presentation.
Okay. So basically, I've written code to go and either grab the information from the customer ship to in the sales when they create the sales order for the order header, and we'll pop warnings if something is different. I even have a validate, so to test to see if it's 9 digits for FedEx, 9 digits for DHL, or 6 alpha, or I'm sorry, 9 numbers for FedEx or DHL, or 6 numbers or letters for UPS. I tried to do specific letters, but it seems like the one site that gave me specific letters that were valid for UPS seemed to be that some accounts had at least one extra letter, so I've elected not to go that far. And so they'll just have to go and do a freight and let QuickShip tell them if it's an invalid account number with UPS or any of the others. I'm just checking the length of it. I'm doing that in sales order and customer shipment. So I do have, I can go and demonstrate this but I just want to take any questions. Okay. So let me bring up, I'm just going to start with the order head level. I have this sheet up. I just need to minimize everything. There's just one thing after another, isn't there? My order probably still coming up. All right, so I'm just gonna start a new order here. And so another thing I do is if they go and change the ship to number, the customer, the ship to customer, or the customer number, it will run back through the code and go and check the customer ship to and update the manifest information automatically on changes as well. So I can go into the methodology I use too. So right now, I have not clicked save, so this is all blank. So once I click save, oh, whoops, yeah, that good. It'll run through, and in this case, it did not pop any warnings. As this was all set up correctly. So it ported it in, it saw as FedEx, it ported in the FedEx. So I think I even do it on a ship via. So if I go and change this to, oops, a UPS, let's say, and click save. So what I'm saying is here, I'm popping a warning that there has been a change. I'm giving them the information and that we are going to go and check to see if this data exists. And it did exist, and so it populated the account. Now, if they elected to choose a ship via that's not supported, such as either freight or C notes, in our case, it'll give them a warning, not supported by QuickShip. Please update necessary billing information that shipping needs when shipping this product via freight. So I'm popping the different warnings for them when something's not quite right there. So I'm not going to necessarily go through all the warnings there. So if I change this to 6, this updates to FedEx. Going back to the header, this blanked out part of the update of it, but when I click save, it populates back, and without having it up, it was a different number. The last 4 of the previous one was 7658 instead of 2058. So, and they can go through and change it to shipper. Again, they'll get information saying that this will be shipper, and it'll be blank and it'll remain that way. Or if you blank it out, same thing, letting you know what it's changing from and to. That way they get the warning that it was changed. So that is what our sales team said, to pop warnings like that. So any questions around the sales order? Now, obviously, we went live in January. We're done quite a few finds. This has changed now to the point now that we have the data a little more accurate. We've had to do significant change about a couple weeks ago to account for the data being accurate and doing different things versus when we first went live. Not quite all the data was in all the sales orders. So we were having the customer shipment entry go all the way to the customer ship to, instead of doing any comparison against the sales order as well. That being said, do you want me to show you how this works with the customer shipment entry as well? Or do you want me to go into maybe unfortunately, most of this is code, so I'm not so sure how much the method directives will help.
Do you have your code as a customization on sales order entry, or how are you, are you using BPM trigger?
So yeah, so here is customer shipment. I'm doing an update pre-processing, and this is straight up code. So specifically on this, if you want me to pull it up, I will. I don't want to get too technical because I don't think the entire audience, but I am pulling, before I do anything on this, what I look for is to see if the detail, a line is either in added state, and then I go and into the database, I do a query of all I want to see is if I'm returning first or default. If that is null, then I go in on the first pack ID, I go and check this information, because on pack ID 2 and later, or if any pack ID exists, then the order head information doesn't change. That is what Epicor standard did. After the first one, it ported that in, and then if you add a second one, I think it would warn you against a different address or a different ship to, but it didn't. it kept the very first one you added into the customer shipment entry. So that's why I'm looking for if the database does not contain any pack lines in the ship detail field, then I run and do my checks and go and grab the information either from, I go and do some further checks down here. I check to see if the order release that we're adding matches the order head or not. And if it does, then I'll do some further checks to make sure the order head doesn't have misinformation there, just to make sure something didn't accidentally get overwritten or the code in the sales order didn't allow one of their checks as well. And I do know that a lot of this code could be, I optimized it as best I could, and I probably could have optimized it further, but this is running what I could find, and I hope I was looking at this correctly. I'm pretty sure I was, but this was, this code runs less than 300 milliseconds the first time. And then if that's in cache, it runs much faster, less than 100 milliseconds. So I didn't find the need to change stuff like this to string builder, or there's a couple other things that looked like I could have optimized, but I didn't see the need to. So
sure.
I really don't like, sorry, I don't like, I'm going to switch, I'm going to bring you guys over here.
No, you don't have to go any further on that. And
yeah,
and I think,
I like
you're
looking
showing
at it this way.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have to go into the code at this point anyway. So I think I really like what you've been showing us, and that there's kind of ways to add some code to do some things that QuickShip currently isn't doing for you, and still be able to use the product and get your orders out the door.
Yeah. And I'm sure Fred and Calvin might be cringing at all the code I might have written, because I have seen places where they say, you don't want, all that code in there, and you want to do your messages maybe outside the code and different stuff like that. But I'm not quite familiar enough with it. And, someone tried to do some things outside the code and it wasn't working. And I went and wrote code. I had to do a lot of searching and finally figured out how to do it through code far easier, because I eventually had to add this into the picture to account for only running this on changes and this is in the sales order update processing to either the header or any of these fields, and that's how it knows to go and run that code.
Hey, Pete, you are always welcome however you want to do it. There's more than one way to do things in Epicor. There's a minimum of 10 ways to do anything. If it works, you use it. Don't worry, I'm not looking and judging.
Any developer looks at their codes that they first wrote when they started Epicor or any other code, and they look at where they're at now, whatever time span then is, I think we all will be like, oh, we could totally do this different. It's a learning process. No, this is wonderful, Pete. I am going to leave a little bit of time because we do have Terry Hiskey from Epicor is on the here with us, and Terry can get a chance to talk a little bit about what probably is on all of our minds right now is insights. What's happening? It's canceled. What now? So I do want to make sure that we do leave just a little bit of time for that too. But does anybody have questions for Pete for what he has been presenting so far?
Pete, if you're open, I know I've put people in touch with Christine regarding Quick Ship if they have questions or if they're asking for help when they ask me out in the field. If you don't mind, I can have them talk to you also if they have questions like how did you handle or how did you get over this issue. I'm sure there's always people that are looking at the software going, hey, this is going to simplify it. How do we enhance it better? Who can I talk to that has it? If you're open to that, I'd love to turn around and put them in touch with you.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm more than willing to help out where I can. And of course, if anybody either wants this code or wants to go through the code, I'm more than happy to help you go through the code so you understand kind of what I've done. I haven't had time to necessarily go back and comment the code like it should be and do some of the other stuff, quite honestly, as well. But I'm hoping to do that at some point, but it is not there right now.
No, I'm going to echo Jason, what he says there. It's a very nice solution that you got there. And I know that there is a second part to it on the customer shipment entry side, and maybe we get a chance to maybe go over that another time. But I think for time's sake and making sure that we move forward right now, we probably will stop it at that, if that's okay with you, Pete.
Yes, that's perfectly fine. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you so much for presenting this for us.
No problem.
And what do you think, do you know anything about like estimated what is doing to your sales team or your shipping team? It's hard to sometimes set cost on some of that, but I'm sure that it's streamlining your processes in that you can catch things ahead of orders going to shipping.
So where it's at today, like I said, the most recent was updated a couple weeks ago. It seems like every couple weeks we are updating it and I think we're in a place that should be good and hopefully some more minor updates. And some of it might be a little more geared towards us as well. Like I said, is we don't, I saw a solution where we would go back and check the customer ship manifest information. They elected not to do that. But it's all I can say is the only extra steps it puts on sales is after we've done the DMT and updated everything that needed to be updated that was existing initially, is they have to go and make sure the customer shipped to. So when they add a new one or when they're doing an order where the ship to information wasn't updated, they're going and adding that. So that's an extra step for sales, but it's only there. So for the sales order, everything's coming automated unless they need to go and, like I said, change it to shipper from the customer account because it's like an RMA or something. So it's basically no training or very little training from that aspect for them, and it pops a warning so they can hopefully catch something before it gets. But then of course there's all the existing orders that we had to do when we went live in January that still might not quite have everything. Hopefully the next time they save it, it ports the information in that's necessary before it ships. And then from the customer shipment entry, again, because we weren't using Quick Ship until we went live, it's really hard to say what this customization is truly doing. I know one thing slipped through the cracks, and of course we've updated the code since then. And I really think they ignored the warning there, but I think it's been outside of the time savings of not doing international paperwork it's doing. It's I think it's been useful and eliminate the need for either the warnings or everything else for them to know what they need to do if there is any problems.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Thank you again. And Terry, are you on here to chat?
Unmuted.
Yes, I am. Hi, everyone.